At this point, I'm going to introduce Art Astrin, who's going to give a brief preview of a talk that he's going to present at the IEEE 802 meeting in San Diego. And Art is the chair of IEEE 802.15.4N working group and is also the chair of the local Santa Clara Valley Information Theory activity. Art?
Thank you. While this is coming up, let me tell you the funniest thing about Silicon Valley that's ever happened to me. I got on a plane once, and next to me sat a young couple on a honeymoon from Brazil, and they were flying back home. And the lady turned to me and said, "When was the silicon discovered in this valley?" Like diamonds or gold. Anyway, this is a counterintuitive talk in the history committee, so I appreciate Alan for letting me have a few minutes. And because this is not a TG or other kind of a task force, I can actually babble along about what I think the future of...
But remember, you only got 5 minutes.
And I only have 5 minutes and
left.
4 slides, so I will go really fast. The best one I like is that prediction is very difficult by Niels Bohr, one of our guys here, physicist. So what is Ethernet? Well, currently it's kind of a link and fly, but occasionally people are saying, should it also be a network? Should we sneak up into layer 3? And some people are working on that. Here's some numbers to think about. Number of people on Earth, 7 billion. MAC addresses, 48-bit. 2 to the 40 is 281 trillion. And so if I divided max per person, that's 40,000, 2010, modular versus organizational difficulties. So we should have enough.
And efficiency.
And efficiency. I personally have about 100 MAC addresses in different phones, iPads, laptops, computers, cameras. I can't even think of, I mean, for all I know, this has a MAC address. However, this thing coming up called Things, Internet of Things, which I still don't know what it is, but somehow it seems like we're going to put more MAC addresses in a lot of little things. And so I'll skip some of the things of storage and the trends and usage and how the 1 gig is now evaporating and being replaced by 10 gig Ethernets. This all comes out of a 802.3 industry connection bandwidth assessment. Great document if you're interested in current status and where it is. Here's some media issues. First of all, we started with air, free space. It was called Aloha back then in the 71. Then wired initially was actually coax. That's when I ran into it in 1979. And then we moved on to twisted pair. And we unfortunately haven't changed anything in 30 years. So I have a favorite, Jeff's prompt I always carry that with me in case a motel or hotel doesn't have a cable, but they have a connector. This needs to get smaller because if you look at this laptop over there, there's no room for it there anymore. So USB is starting to eat our lunch, and I have a proposal here, and then they're also realized, so they're coming up with a micro USB. So this is a ridiculous USB cable from USB to USB, which just shrinks it. And so here's one that maybe we should adopt, and I'm going to propose this in May. It's Apple Lightning cable. Another thing that's happening to Ethernet is the one on the bottom. Human body is now becoming communication medium for some medical applications, and so we have Ethernet running through human body. The forces I just drew up: demand pull, Ethernet of Things, demand push, Moore's law, which lets us do bigger and faster drivers. And so here's the evolution of Ethernet. I kind of mapped it up like that. This is the wired side, this is the wireless side. I put a crystal ball there on the far end as to where it's going. So while those are nice long-term predictions, there's some near-term predictions which are probably more important, and I'm going to try to stimulate the discussion of this in May at 19 and in July at the 802 meeting. So I'm looking for your feedback if you have any ideas. I've listed some, I've already got some from people. MAC addresses, should they be, I won't go through all this, synchronous
If
people.
you send me your slides, we'll get them posted on our website.
Okay. Need a self-test like ping, can be Ethernet with authentication. Internet has a big hole. You don't know who you get an email from. And Ethernet does. We can beat USB with PoE, which is being worked on right now. We can get into a smaller devices with smaller connector like the Lightning here, and all will be done by IEEE volunteers. Of course, companies will jump in. That's it. That's my 5 minutes. Any questions?
So what time slot is this going to take place in San Diego?
It's a section called Birds of Feather.
So
Sort of a new.
it's the Wednesday
it's
night.
Instead of a social.
It's the Wednesday
Yeah.
night.
So they text true volunteers. Yes.
So why Lightning? Just because it's small?
Yeah, something like it. I don't mean, I just point out there's 8 pins and it's small and it fits in iPhones and iPads and probably good for server racks when you have a, space limitation on how much, but you still want to get your fingers in it to pull it out. Something needs to be done. This is just, I think, reaching its end.
Well, the nice thing about that is you can tell when it's connected. It's got a positive.
But it's also hard to pull it out.
It is, but when you are plugging in something, it's useful.
This does have a click.
That's not a discussion for
Yeah.
Right.
One suggestion?
Yes.
You might want to check on your predictions on 10 versus 1.
10 versus 1. Okay. Thanks. I will.
Okay, thank you, Art. And again, if you provide me with your slides, we'll try to get them posted on